Tavener. Good side.
Right, Jake has pressed the button. Lee's got his hat on, so we're ready to go. Three smiling faces because it's another hot sunny day. The smiliest of them all. Good afternoon, Jake.
Hello, Dave. I'm hoping Lee's drinking something strong. It's much needed after Saturday.
I hope he fumigated that hat after he took it off Colin Tom's. Evening, Lee.
David, Jacob, how are we doing, boys? Yeah, what a day. This is going to be cheerful, right? Right?
It's depressing, isn't it? I was writing all the notes down and getting the comments from people coming in, and it's difficult to find anything to be positive about at all. But anyway, we shall try by looking back on Saturday's 4-0 defeat to Ramsgate at the Southwood Stadium. You two were lucky. You got there early. You got time to go down to the beach and have a good time.
You could have come with us. We opened the invitation. You mugged us off. Don't start any of that.
Well, when I looked it up on Friday, it's about a 2-hour, 20-minute journey. It ended up being over 3 hours. And I've got to say, those 3 hours were the best 3 hours I had Saturday. Right. Saturday. We started quite brightly, I thought, actually, on the plastic pitch down there. Well, we got a 1-1 draw last year, by the way, with Leo Surrey scoring. Our best bits at that time were thanks to Mikey Faulkner. He was by far the liveliest player down there. He was a genuine threat. He put a lovely ball, I think it was him, through for Jake Gray, who should have scored. But being Jake, he's not very good at scoring goals, is he? Sorry, Jake. So that was our best chance really early on. And in the second half, unfortunately, Mikey was as anonymous as the rest of them, but his first half display would have got him on man of the match. It's more than what any of the others put up. Yeah. You look at the goals. Gary wasn't happy about them. Obviously, no manager would be. They were pathetic. Remy Sutton tried to take on 3 Ramsgate players for the first one. I don't think he got past the first man. Billy Munday then scored, as he did last year against us down there. But this year, though, he had the benefit of a slight deflection off Darian Furlong, because it probably would have gone wide without that. Furlong diving in to try and block the ball. Second goal, same again. Zane got crowded out by 3 players deep in their half this time. Excellent break. Superb ball by Billy Munday. Took Zach Selden Fletcher out. Well, I hope that's interesting what you found to look at, Jake. Took him out of the game. And Callum Jones finished in style, somewhat worryingly, with ease inside Sam Donkin's near post. That's his 5th goal of the season, and as many as we've got between us. Third goal was pathetic. Alfie Paxman, ball in from bare left. 3 of our defenders in that 6-yard box. One at the near post. Alex Dyer, you would have seen it, just stood there and let Rowan Liburd get in front of him, just glance the ball in nicely off the inside of his right foot for 3-0. But 2 defenders behind him, they just stood there as well. And 2 Ramsgate players went past them. It's basic. That's not bad defending. That's bad players. And the 4th goal, good save by Sam Donkin, but we were slow to react to a loose ball, and it was bundled in by Bivesh Gurung. As for us at the other end, Inept Young pulled a good save out of the former Tunbridge goalkeeper, Johnny Henley. But apart from that, a couple of efforts maybe flashed wide. It was as pathetic as we could have imagined, if not worse. And coming on the back of a Lewis game, it doesn't bode well for the rest of the season. Lewis should have won by more. Ramsgate should have won by more. We would have lost at Enfield if they bothered to keep all 11 players on the pitch. The knives are out for this side at the moment from the responses that I've received. Perhaps you two saw something a bit more encouraging than I did.
I mean, the man in the hat surely has something positive to say.
We saw some very buxom ladies from Maidstone who decided to sort of chat to Jake. But on the pitch, Tavs, listen, it was... I'll take this off. I don't tend to get too emotional or reactive to results anymore, either way. I don't know whether it's because I get older or I'm more drunk or whatever. I felt embarrassed, actually, on Saturday after the game. We lose games, yes, and I'm gutted sometimes or I'm a bit low sometimes, but I was embarrassed, actually, because we were at the far end. We had to walk past through all of the Ramsgate fans to get out to the main entrance. And it's, you know, it's the little digs, it's the little jobs, which is absolutely fine because we're not alone in when that happens. But I looked at that and thinking, we gave nothing today. We gave absolutely nothing. And, you know, a few fans questioned the commitment towards Gary and co at the final whistle, and he had a snap back and he didn't like that. But to be honest with you, he's got no real reason to expect anything less. It's disappointing. The one disappointment, Tabs, I've got, mate, is the fact that we're going to have to tear up the playbook after 4 games. This midfield is not working at all. The spaces between the defence and the midfield are shocking. You've only got to look at the highlights. And I don't give a monkeys if any of the coaching staff come out and tell me that it was unfortunate, and we should have done this, and if this done this. No. It's bad. It's bad. You mentioned there, Dave, you know, the knives are out. It's ridiculous to get overreactive after 4 games, but Gary will get time, and he should have time, of course, but we have to go back to the drawing board 4 games in because something isn't working, quite rightly. Quite rightly, the fans are voicing their concern. No one wants anyone to lose their jobs, but they want a change in mentality. I thought we looked lazy. I thought we were pushed off the ball far, far too easily. They were just stronger. They were up for it big time, Tabs. And I think the one disappointment fact is that we didn't even look interested at any point. Maybe first 10 minutes. But then what happens for the other hour and a half? You know, it's just nothing there. There's nothing there to write home about. And quite frankly, any criticism that Gary and the team have after Saturday's game is fully deserved.
This is a difficult one for you, Jay. Can you find anything different, either bad or good, from what we've just said?
Positives were between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and between 5 o'clock and approximately the time we got home to St Albans, whatever time that was. Ramsgate is a great away day. Saints fans travelled in numbers, were, you know, before the game, after the game, really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, and to be fair, a lot of the Ramsgate fans we spoke to in the pubs of the town afterwards were of course, gracious and sort of more like, we can't believe how bad you guys were.
Some of them weren't.
No, that's true. But between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock, it was, like Lee says, it was a real shambles. Very embarrassing as a supporter, actually, apart from that first 10 minutes. And there was just so much disappointment on the terraces behind the goal. And, you know, when you go a goal behind, it's fine. But it was the manner of the goals. And watching it back, they're actually getting worse every time. It's the manner of the goals. And I think how different this team looks in terms of style, how they apply themselves, and the fight and passion from the team that we saw against Chatham and second half against Enfield. I know man advantage, just take that away for a second. Just look at, you know, at least there seemed to be some fight and desire, and there just wasn't there on Saturday. Lewis was bad. You can forgive one performance. 2 in a row is certainly now alarm bells ever so slightly starting to ring. And it's the manner of it, isn't it? If we, you know, got a few chances away, had some dangerous situations, and it was just unlucky. It wasn't that. Effiong hit the bar, great save. But aside from that, nothing else. And like Lee says, it was just very disappointing. And that second half felt like one of the longest second halves I've ever had as a Saints supporter. We were 3-0 down very quickly, then 4, and it was just dragged on and on. And when the ref added 4 minutes on, I was like, come on, mate. We just want to go to the pub.
Yeah.
It was, just such a disappointing afternoon as a Saints fan. And it's just so annoying this has come midway through August or latter end of August. I didn't expect this 2 week and a half ago.
You mentioned there it's 2 defeats in a row. Everybody knows it was at Donkey Lane. It should have been 3. Enfield would have won that. I wouldn't say they were cantering to victory, but they were so much a better side. And that would have been 3 out of 3 in a row for us. But, you know, unfortunately, the record books show that not to be the case. That's something for you to ponder here. A lot of criticism started last season for the age of the team. The opening game against Chatham last season, we had a 37-year-old on the pitch, 36, 35, and a 34-year-old. On Saturday, we had 6 players aged 30 or over. And people say there's no pace in the side. what do you expect? So what on earth are we doing? You've got to have experience inside. Everyone knows that. But come on, what sort of side is that you're putting out?
I
Yeah.
don't mind that. Sorry, mate, go on. Okay.
No, no. I don't mind the age and experience as long as they can do a job. And I think on Saturday, and Lee identified it a moment ago, and I think we mentioned this after the Enfield game, it's the midfield area, isn't it? There's just no energy or legs in there at all at the minute. And you can have that from players that are 30 plus. But we're not seeing it at the minute, I don't think. Go on, Lee.
You're not going to either with those. You are not going to see it.
I
And
didn't have
also,
a massive.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Lee.
No, not at all.
You said
Go on.
about pace in midfield. Pace in defence is also missing, and we're being exposed. Lewis, they were on the back foot most of the game. When they went forward, they exposed us easily. And this is going to happen again and again until this squad changes.
I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but there was elder statesmen in the defence last year than there were this year. I've got no problem with age as long as there's a cohesion across the board there. If you look at the back line this year, there is some youth in there. I mean, it's definitely younger this year compared to last year. I've got no real problem with age. It's just the shape and the application is sorely missing. I think we need to put the ifs and buts of Enfield to bed simply because the last two games were bad enough. You know, we can criticise the Saints on merit just from the last two games. Two games we've conceded 6 goals. We've had, I would educate a guess, 4 shots on target in total over those 2 games. We've not scored any goals, you know, and if you're looking for excuses, you haven't got to look as far as Enfield, mate. Just look at, you know, you're only as good as your last game, and that is nowhere near good enough. We've said this before, fellas, right? Ray Curran, lifelong fan, come up to me at half time. He said, why have we just torn up every single thing that we did well in pre-season? He referenced a Rail Bedford game where he thought we played really well, some good shape and stuff like that. And there was a couple of passages of play in some of the home games. Not necessarily in terms of the overall game, but certainly you can see that there was a model there. And, you know, there was something there to build on. We just seem to have just torn up the whole strategy of Kai Brown, who we know likes to play on the shoulder of the last man, getting in behind, getting those little touches in and around the box. We're not playing to his strengths now. Zane has fallen off. Zane has gone from being one of the standout midfielders that we've had to just being another midfielder we've got. You know, and I don't know whether that's just reflective of the style of play or whether he's taking a bit longer to get back into the games or whatever. We can list this off. And look, Gary did say, you know, we are going to lose games. I don't mind losing games if we're putting the effort in. Yeah. But there was nothing there. And it was a pure disgrace on Saturday. And, you know, I wasn't the only one, Dave. You know, and to be fair, there was a I don't know whether you were there, Jake. There was a Ramsgate fan who actually felt sorry for us. Yeah. Because it was just like he bought his family thinking it was going to be a good game of football. You know, we'd spent some big money in the summer. He was really looking forward to it. And in the end, it was a bit of an anticlimax. Well, you want to be at this end, mate, because it's not that much better. We've got to laugh about it, Dave. Otherwise, we're just going to cry, mate, and get really angry because what was offered, it smacked back a little bit to the back end of last season. Yeah. You know, those last few games of the season under Gary, that was pretty about as low as it got. And this wasn't too far from it either.
Yeah, it's 5 defeats in the final 6 games last season and didn't score in 3 of the last 4. The age thing, our average age Saturday ended up being higher than it was for the Chatham game at the start of last season. No, you're not going to convince me there's not a connection between a lack of pace last season and an even greater lack of pace this season. Alex Dyer cannot move. If he loses the ball, that's it. He's out of the game. Remy Sutton, he hasn't got a lot of pace either. First time we've seen Charlie Edwards, he didn't overly impress pre-season, so he was left on the bench for the first 3 games. Well, he was missing for one because I think he was ill. Came in Saturday, taken off after an hour. Spent most of the time sitting down. you're carrying too many players. Zane is getting a lot of criticism. He's got credit in the bank still, but this is his third year. He's been in a poor City side, and you can see it's taken its toll. He's another age 30, but he's obviously a fit one. You wouldn't worry about his age at the moment. There's so much wrong with this squad. You wonder what has happened in the summer for us to end up with a squad like this again. Gary says we had a chat with the players in the dressing room after. We're hearing that every week. We were hearing it at the end of last season. And what's happening? We're going to get the same performance, well, even worse, a week after. This is a fourth year of decay on the pitch, and it's accelerating. It is. We've gone from National League South playoff finalists, mid-table the following season, relegation the following season, mid-table division below the following season, and now where are we heading this season? One way at the moment, and for all of that, we've had the same chief scout and the same head of football. Would it happen to any other club? I doubt it. There's a lot wrong, and you just wonder where are they going to put it right. Didn't put it right in the summer. Where are they going to put it right with this lot?
Yes, Nobby out. Go on, Jake.
Yeah, those are reasonable points, Dave. And I think certainly reflects the feeling amongst the supporter base at full time and in the days preceding. Now I've had a little bit of time. I think, words like decay, I understand it, but we are only 4 games in. And, Saturday was an absolute shocker. And so was Lewis. It was poor, really poor. But then if we go out there and beat Stanway 2-0 on Saturday, suddenly everything looks a little bit rosy and we've got 9 points from 5 games. Not ideal, but not the end of the world. So I think in terms of the squad itself, I think there are capable players in there, absolutely, that can make something happen. But I don't know if it's the style of play or something else that's happened. It's the style of play.
It's the style of play, Jake.
Yeah, and the application as well. I think the players just didn't apply. They didn't apply themselves at all to 100%, did they, on Saturday? If they do, I don't think we lose that game 4-0. And it's that combination of those two things that just seems to have completely disappeared in the last 10 or so days. And you just have to question how or why. And one supporter said to me after the game on Saturday, Lewis, what you want from the Ramsgate game is a reaction to that Lewis game, which was a disappointment, very low quality from Saints. And it just didn't happen. And we've got to see the reaction pretty quickly now with 2 winnable games coming up, because otherwise things just don't look great.
It's 3 games. You've got Stanway, Cheshunt, and 3 Bridges. 3 of the bottom 5, bottom 6 sides.
Yeah.
Even a mid-table side will be looking for 7 points. We're supposed to be challenging. We should be looking for 9 points. You cannot see us getting 9 points from over 3 games at the moment.
No, but this is the same team that tore Chatham a new one on the opening day, and that was only 2 weeks ago. You cannot tell me there's been a fundamental drop-off in quality of player in the 2 weeks. I think there's been a fall-off in attitude. I think there's been a fall-off in application. I think there's been a fall-off in tactics. There's something there. There is something there. I think if you want to sort of look at the overall season, the overall month as it is, 6 games after 6 points after 4 games, is that a fair reflection? Are we that shocked and upset by that? But Dave, you're absolutely spot on, mate. I hate to say it, but you're looking at these 3 games now, and it's a case, well, look, there's a lot of disgruntlement towards Gary and the players. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for them now to really sort of say to them, hang on, right, we've had 2 games, that was shit. Now, we can get back on it now. Because these 3 games, believe it or not, are going to be quite important for Gary going forward, because he needs to re-establish that intensity that hasn't been there for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you can see this squad doing it.
I can see the squad doing it because they've shown glimpses. Look, we haven't played well consistently. We've not played well enough for long enough in any of the games at all. But I think there was something there, definitely something there at home to Chatham. There was a glimpse there in terms of at least character away to Enfield, right? The quality was lacking, but the character was there. If they showed, but there was nothing in Lewis and then reflective, on a Ramsgate. I can, Dave. I really can, mate. But they're going to have to dig deep. I don't know what has happened. I don't know what has gone on. But these are the same players who we lauded no more than a month ago. And they've yet to fulfill any sort of promise at all.
Yes, sorry, Dave. Just to say, I agree with Lee. I'm an optimist for some reason. I don't know why. I think this squad can, but you've got the issues of the midfield. I think the left side of the defence without Lewis Page is an issue. I think we've seen how we're struggling without him on that side, and desperately either need him back or some sort of natural left back cover. And it's just those sort of things, and also the news of Kieran Petrie not being available for what sounds like it could be some time again. I think him not being available really does blunt the forward areas. Mikey Faulkner, like you sort of both said, is doing a lot of heavy lifting at the minute on his own from out wide. And without Kieran Petrie, you just wonder how those forward areas will operate. So I'm optimistic, but there's those obvious areas of concern.
I know where you're getting your optimism from, Jake. I really don't. The questions asked two people. Why was Kai Brown dropped? Yeah, you're playing against 38-year-old Dave Winfield, the Ramsgate captain. Of course, we know him from scoring a very nice own goal for Welling in our favour the other year, formerly Chelmsford. So what do? As one person said, we put a big lump up against him in the Effiong, so you go lump for lump. And what it needed was someone nippy, mobile, agile, and you didn't have it. So it's easy for him. That's exactly the sort of game Winfield lost. And he won hands down. Just one time, and he got away, and he scored. You're thinking, just what on earth is going on there? As someone said here, it's pretty basic. He said it is worrying there's a lack of pace throughout the team, especially in the centre of the pitch. You then made comparisons to this season and a relegation from National League South 2 years ago. Now, on that point, a manager said to me a few years ago, he said, you've got to understand early when you're in a relegation battle. You're dismissing it. Now, yes, the club's going to bounce back, debatable. The club took that attitude 2 years ago, all the way through the season. We're going to get out of this. We're going to get out of this. No, we didn't. We were 21st, in the bottom four, all but 1 week of a season, something like that. It's ridiculous. And if we don't snap out of this soon, we're going to be in the same position and saying, oh, we'll be all right. We're St Albans City. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. And I think one thing that I explained to Jake, my concern is Gary will get given time, but if he's not careful, these players will get him the sack if they carry on the same sort of vein. Because ultimately, the owners have sacked better managers than Gary McCann. And I think that there's a situation here where unless things start to pick up, I mean, I can't believe this is typical pod, right? We're talking about relegation battles in bloody August.
we were going up 2 weeks ago.
Is it any wonder why we drink so much? Yeah, it is a concern.
Yeah, Jake.
Hey,
mate, that's awesome. One day, my friend. Yeah, but I think that Gary just needs to focus on getting the right team out. You spoke about Kai Brown there. I cannot believe for 1 second that we're playing to any of his strengths here. And you pay your best players, right? You play your best players, and you score 9 goals in pre-season. He deserves a run in the side to get things going. Surely, I mean, okay, Effiong scored, and Faulkner has looked really, really lively, but somehow you just need a little bit of quality and a little bit of calm and composure in the box. And you can't help but think that Kai Brown needs to have a really extended run in the side, because he obviously can score goals, and that is what we're sort of lacking at the minute.
Yeah, Ray Curran mentioned, you said, Lee, about the Real Bedford game.
Yeah.
They went down to 10 men. We were 3-1 up. And with 10 men, they went from 3-1 down to 4-3 up, and we rescued it with a goal in the last 4 minutes or so. It was not a great City performance.
I wasn't there, but I'd say I'm only sort of saying that he made reference to that. So,
and we were lucky not to have 3 off. Our tackling was awful. Theirs wasn't a lot better at times, but it's not a game that sticks in my memory as a feast of football.
Dave, there's one positive. Our disciplinary record's pretty good this year so far.
That's because we're not tackling. It's quite easy.
And to be fair, I think in the pre-season games, all of us know we shouldn't read much from it, apart from that one year Dave said we looked doomed, and we were doomed. That there were periods of play in certain areas that looked all right, and I agree where Ray's coming from. And I think even the playbook from the Chatham game, sure, they got a man sent off, but we were already 2-0 up by then. Aspects of that playbook seem to have disappeared for whatever reason already. The lack of dangerous crossing, the lack of entry. They managers use this phrase, but entries into the area from Saints seem to have disappeared. Stuff like that. So I think Ray definitely understands those aspects, and I think that is the concern for Saints fans. We were on cloud nine after that win against Chatham, and 2 weeks later, it has all just disappeared.
You mentioned entry into sorry, Lee, come
on. No, I was going to say we had a good time, and I think it was the one thing that we come back to every single time is the fans. The fans came down there in such good force. Obviously, it was quite an emotional day as well. And we deserve better. We deserve better. And I think that that's something now that some of the players need to take into consideration. If they think that they're just going to come up here and stroll around and turn over teams, like the Three Bridges, like the, all of the teams we've got coming up, the Stanway Community Rovers, United, Tea-Ladies, whatever they're called, they need to work for those clubs. They need to work. And it has to improve, because there was nothing on the field on Saturday that I saw of anyone really worthy of getting a starting place come Saturday either. So
yeah, dead rightly. Gary said at the end of the last season to all the supporters at Carshalton, it'll be better next season. It's got to be better. Well, it isn't. It's worse. It's going the other way at the moment, and I'm struggling to see it get better with this side.
You say it's got worse. Wingate away was pretty damn bad, I will say, at the end of last season. Maybe without the goals, but that was bad. So I don't know if we're quite that level yet.
Well, if that's what we're measuring again, worse for worse, then it doesn't say much for our chances this season. Right, AL sent a message in. He picked up on Alex Dyer for the third goal, said it was Sunday League stuff, away he let his man go. He's suggested 3 players who he thinks are probably past it. As a supporter, I can say it. Alex being one of them, Innie and Remy 2 others. Along with a few people got in touch, highly critical of our media, which was awful on Saturday. Absolutely awful. The Twitter, no mention of substitution or anything. Wrong goal score for one game. No mention of the crowd, and most of the other incidents. It was appallingly written. The post-match interview was a shambles. Came like that. The manager should have been asked some pretty decent questions, and he wasn't. It was just textbook 4 questions, and that was it. It was embarrassing. The highlights finally went up Monday evening. What? 2 days? And it's not just me. That's the supporters of getting fed up with this media. Kieran Petrie, you mentioned his injury. Nobody knew about it before the game. No news about players. Club does not give out news on players. Well, your supporters put more money into the club than anybody else. Stop mugging them off. It's awful. And on that point, Andy spread out his point earlier. He said how quickly the club brushed aside Saturday and drawing people's attention to the fact they could spend £900 on Saturday as a sponsorship package for the visit of Stanway Rovers. Yeah, people queuing up for that, I'd imagine.
We're there,
news? Player news? No.
We are there.
Yeah. It's pathetic, as they say. John H. never gets in touch, but he was angry Saturday. He said, do you think the owners think it's acceptable for us to be losing without effort? Was their run at the end of last season acceptable? Are they happy with us being so inept? I think we take it as no, but we'd like to see them doing something.
I'm not sure. I think they're more focused about results. I don't think not care is the wrong word. I don't think they're as bothered about the performances as they are about results. I think they see they care if we win, but they don't care how we get that win. If you know what I mean. And that, to be fair, some fans are like that. So I'm not going to criticise the owners for that. It's up to. But one thing I would say is that if any of the owners were there on Saturday, they should be concerned. They should be concerned, because fans won't accept too much of that. You mentioned it, and I'm sure you're going to mention it again, Dave. Gates are down. You know, the quality of opposition isn't what it was 2-3 years ago, but you kind of watch Albans City. You kind of watch Albans City play, and it's disappointing this turn of events. It's got, Jake and I mentioned this earlier, it's got quite toxic a little bit, but it's reactionary to what we've seen, and it's fully justified. What we saw was absolutely disgusting. From a St Albans City side, Dave, you mentioned it. Oh, it's because we're St Albans City. Yes, it's because we're St Albans City. We do expect a little bit more, from where we have been to where we want to be again, And if we want to be there again, we can't accept anything near like what we saw on Saturday or the week before.
You mentioned about how you feel when we lose. I always say I'm not bothered whether we win or lose. I want to see a decent game. I want to see us compete, and This side is not doing it. So that is why I got angry over the weekend, and I don't normally after a game, and you just cannot carry on like that. It's got to change.
Who did you get angry with, Dave?
Myself.
All right.
There's nobody else here.
He wasn't happy at half time when I went to ask him, did he buy that hat he was wearing from the seafront as well?
He turned green.
He didn't turn green. I will say, on the hat topic, it is absolutely brilliantly that you answered that question seriously in that hat. Superb. But
I am nothing but professional, my friend.
But it's not quite as good as Dave's hat, which any Saints fan travelling down would have seen. And you both made really good points. We talked about last week, didn't we? Saints fans, we know there's a lot of casual Saints supporters, as we've grown our supporter base, which is brilliant, want to be entertained, don't we? And I think you can say that Saturday was definitely not entertaining as a City fan, and Lewis certainly wasn't either at home. And that pressure is going to be on going into the next couple of games.
Well, definitely, it's mounting already. It shouldn't be, but when you get performances like that, it is going to be. So you think, what can Gary do for the side on Saturday? Jake Grant was on the bench again on Saturday, which was a surprise. He came on and had his worst game since he joined us. What was he doing? He had an absolute nightmare. He fitted in quite nicely with the rest of them. And poor old Zach Selden-Fletcher, he was like a rabbit in headlights. Only a young lad, 18. Being in the side like that, that's not going to do him any good at the moment. And he would be better off having the rest of the weekend as well. So who else do you bring in? Ollie Knight hasn't had a start yet. Kai Brown, is he going to be? Won't he be? Is Frankie Musonda fit enough to play? Wasn't fit enough to come off a bench on Saturday. What changes can he make? Lewis Page, he says, might be fit.
I mean, Dave, you've written off the whole defence there, so I don't know who's starting then. I don't think Frankie Musonda will be fit to start myself. He was warming up at half time, so that's good to see him using the ball again. But would you really worth risk him at this point? Probably not. Lewis Page, again, similar. What's his match fitness going to be like? Chuck him in. Do you want a reoccurrence of the injury? I think he's the one that's desperately missing. I think Kai Brown, I think you need to bring him back in the side because, like Lee said, he needs a run of games and he needs confidence, doesn't he, in front of goal? We've seen, Sean Jeffers a couple of years ago. I've
heard of him.
Yeah, I remember going down to Cheshunt, must be 4 years ago now, 3-4 years. He didn't have a very confident start to the season, then got two goals, and he was away. And I think he scored another 10 or so goals before Christmas. Sometimes that's all you need. So I think Kai Brown back at the side would be welcomed. And then aside from those, is it much of a muchness? It's hard to say. Again, my concern is that midfield area, and how do you add legs and energy into there? And I wonder, do you ask Jake Gray to try and do a job maybe a bit more box to box potentially? Aside from those, it's hard. And the only player that I think has come out of credit really out of the last two games is Micah Faulkner. He's probably the only one that deserves a start on Saturday after last week.
We mentioned Jake Gray there. A couple of comparisons supporters are making between him and Alfie Payne.
Oh, no way, not yet. Come on, we can't do that. Alfie Payne had a brilliant performance for Dulwich against us 2 years ago. So, there's that.
Yeah, but you could have rocked up Jake and sort of got through our defence, mate.
I think that comparison is a bit too far.
It's funny you say that, Jake, because one of our supporters, he went to Finchley on Saturday, who were playing Dulwich, and he was talking to Dulwich fans, and you say, well, how well he played against us. I mean, he really played well against us at the moment. But they said overall he was poor, had a poor season. It just saved it for us.
But I think, like Lee said, it's only 4 games in. we've got to start using the squad, of course, and it's far too early to rule players out and say they're done, etc., etc. But Gary will need to start shuffling the pack a little bit. It didn't work on Saturday. Be interesting to see what he does for this weekend. Surely his main hope will be trying to get one or two of these injured players back for it. And again, I just worry in the forward areas without Kieran Petrie how we're going to make that work.
Changes early?
I don't think it's got to chop and change to a degree where we're having to play players out of position. I would just like us to be a bit tighter at the minute, and I think it's got to be an appreciation and an understanding from the players about their roles. You cannot tell me that some of those players have been told to be 30 yards apart from their teammate in the middle of the park. Well, they've got to be at least 25, 30, 40 yards apart from your defensive partner. This is just, it's tactics, it's awareness, I don't think it's personnel. It's too early to be criticising personnel. Application-wise, certainly, but I think tactics, we've got to look at it and just shore up our little tiny bit. But you're saying that, and we're going into 3 very winnable games. Do you go too defensive and and then you sort of almost invite them on, don't you? So Gary's got a headache, and quite right, because he needs to address something going forward. I definitely think that Kai Brown needs to get in that squad, because he's going to command respect, not to the levels of the aforementioned Sean Jeffers, Jake, but definitely for this level. Yeah. He scored goals, and people would be well aware of that as well. So just get him in the mix, and we seem to have just forgotten how to surge forward through the midfield, straight in the middle of the park. We're so obsessed with getting the ball out wide. And then teams just press us, and we have to take 1 or 2 touches more than we really want to. And then by the time we get the cross in, there's no one there, apart from Mikey Faulkner. We just surge in and get them runners in. Where's Zane gone? Get the ball at his feet and have a crack at goal, for crying out loud. If you look at all of the good play in pre-season, when we started to build these relationships and start to build these combinations, it was through the middle of the park, playing intricate balls in and around the box and trying to get men in and get a shot away. Let's just try that, because in pre-season, okay, not comparable in terms of opposition and personnel, still work there, boys.
Well, it comes back to the point which a few supporters have picked up on, a lack of pace in the middle of the park. So you're not going to have a player surging through the middle.
Bravery as well,
cannot
Dave.
do it.
Have a crack, bravery.
Yeah, pace and just energy and that ability to get around for 90 minutes. I think we've seen that from all the teams we've faced so far, Enfield onwards, is they've got legs in midfield. They might not have the best players in there, but they've got energy in there. Might not be the quickest players, but they're getting around. They're covering blades of grass. Saints aren't really, and they're pressing the Saints as well in midfield. Again, something we're not doing against other teams apart from Chatham.
You also wonder what happens at training, particularly thinking of set pieces. I don't think we had anything in a decent position on Saturday. Our corners were woeful. But set pieces, you look at the free kicks against Lewis. Innes, I think, has just landed in York Road, and Zane's never got off the ground. What on earth are we doing? There was no set plan for those. So what is happening in training? I looked at the subs at half time. Well, Ramsgate ones were being drilled by a coach. They were doing routines and whatnot. I don't know whether it's worthwhile at half time. I'm dubious about that. But when you looked at ours, they were just passing to each other, and it looked like chalk and cheese. The organisation, it really did. But that passing together, I wish the starting 11 had tried it.
I think the direct set pieces, fine. I don't mind players having a go, and it goes over the bar. That happens in every single game. It's more for me the corners and the long throws that we have been really struggling to either put a decent delivery on, or if it has been decent delivery, mostly in the instances of the long throws, the Saints haven't been either there to compete or just haven't won the ball because it has been a defensive header that's met it first. These long throws are meant to be a weapon, and we've seen they are a weapon in football from the top of the pyramid all the way down to the bottom. But Saints don't look like they're ready to win that first challenge to flick it on, or they're just facing well-drilled defences, which is what Lewis exploited against us with that long throw. So for me, it's more the corners and the long throws in terms of poor set piece so far.
The long throws are valid at all. Chelsea won the FA Cup in 1970 with one in
Oh,
a cup
Jesus.
replay. Oh, you wouldn't have been around, Jake, sorry. But if you look at our long throw, it's Darian Furlong. Of course, he's out injured now anyway. Who else have we got of height in there? Well, Innie, if he plays. Beyond that, anyone with a strong physical presence in there who might do damage from a throw-in?
Look, I was chatting to a coach at Cambridge United last week about it after the Enfield game, and this is above my head certainly, but he seems to reckon that long throws, they're very easy to defend against if you're playing a zonal system, because as long as you don't get attracted to what and you do your job particularly well, then they're quite easy, because it's only going to cut. There's no intricacies to it. It's just going to come in, and as long as you're playing a zonal marking, just rely on whoever's there to deal with that. Ultimately, it's a weapon, yes, but we're not using it to our potential. But also, people know it's the only weapon we have, so therefore, it's easy to defend against. Why don't we just get the ball down and play football? We've got some excellent players. We have got some good players. Play to their strengths rather than just bombing it into the box and hoping it might fall or someone feeds us some scraps. Look, let's just, as much as we really want to put the boot in after Saturday, let's focus ahead now, because there's 3 games here that we want a reaction. We need a reaction. Jake said about after the Lewis game. No, we need something now. We need the players to show us that they're actually up for this, and they take a bit of pride in their work, because there was nothing on Saturday, and they should be quite ashamed of themselves. I'm really shocked that no one came out, Gary, after the game and made a real heartfelt apology. We had some correspondence on the email from Chris saying that his body language was down. It wasn't what he expected after a month into the season. Is there something fundamentally wrong behind the scenes that we don't know about? Of course we don't know, but ultimately the only way to get over that is start winning games of football, and there's opportunity there, 3 of them in the next week, so we've got to look forward to those.
As you mentioned earlier, there was an altercation between a couple of supporters and Gary after the game, and he was saying in that, stick with us, he's got to get better. I think we've heard these words before, and time is running out. You've got to do it. One quote here, I can't remember, I read it earlier. Somebody said, the club feels broken. And that is somebody who is very, very close to the club, by the way. But that's just his thought when he probably wasn't too happy on a Saturday night. Right, Stanway Rovers. Gary mentioned we knew how Ramsgate would play Saturday, very strong physically. And they out-muscled us. They weren't dirty, they out-muscled us. It was men against boys. And it shouldn't have been with the side we had out there, that experience. It should not have happened. It was muscling and speed. It did us in. So you wonder what we've done for Stanway Rovers. They've not made a great start of the season. Got a new manager, Brad Wellman, formerly of Canvey Island, where he did have a little bit of success. They've had 2 successive promotions. They got into this league last season with a penalty shootout win against Redbridge, I think it was. Got opening day draw at Cheshunt, since then 3 straight defeats. It should be, in theory, the ideal side for us to be playing next.
St Albans City is a football club full of great theories, isn't it? But on paper, it does look like a good game to face after the last 2 that we've had. They've not had a great start to the season. They've struggled. They're adjusting to life at this level, and it's at Clarence Park. And hopefully
we're going to win.
Yes, Lou. It's going to be such music.
We're going to win.
Come on, get the hat on. Get the hat on.
Beautiful.
It should be a reasonable game, and I think Saints, if they want any sort of game to prepare for and get ready for, this should be the one. And the home fans will be expecting, Clarence Park on a bank holiday. I'm sure there'll be a decent number of City fans there, and they'll be hopeful. It's just obviously the nagging feelings from Saturday. You just hope that Gary and the squad go into it refreshed and just, it's almost back to basics again, isn't it? Just do the fundamental stuff right. And with this squad, you should be getting a result against Stanway Rovers. But I feel like we've had this conversation a lot over the last couple of years.
Yeah, the last 4 years. Are we
Yeah.
going to win, Dave?
Well, you go back to last year.
I mean, no.
We only won 2 games away from home against sides in the top 19. It's got to be better this year. Enfield have done us a favour already, otherwise we'll still be looking for another one. But Stanway Saturday, I'm putting us down for a win.
You are?
Yeah, I'm not expecting a response, 'cause I don't think this side's got it in it. But I expect them to beat Stanway, because Stanway, are they out their depth? Don't know. We'll find out Saturday, won't we? I'm going to go for even a clean sheet as well. 2-0.
Oh my goodness me. Cool.
Go on, Jacob.
Okay, 2-1 Saints. Let's get a classic score.
Was that, mate? Sorry?
2-1 to the Saints.
Wonderful stuff. I'm going to go 3-2, Dave.
You got no faith in our defence, have you?
Absolutely none, mate. Been to the last 2 games, have you?
I haven't got faith in any department of the side. Haven't seen those last 2 games.
Good stuff. See you Saturday.
Right, then Cheshunt on Bank Holiday Monday. Saturday could be a good crowd, because under 16s accompanied by an adult get in for free, and they will be included in the attendance, even though they won't put a penny through the turnstile. But hey, it's one way to make the figures look good. Right, over to Fairballs Lane on Monday, 3 o'clock kickoff. Cheshunt. They've not made the best of starts. Only 1 defeat though, but 3 draws. Only got 1 goal. That was against Burgess Hill Town last weekend. Listen to their manager. Interesting post-match interview. He said, to be honest, 7 times. So I assume all the other sentences were honest. But Cheshunt, they lost Mel Gwinnett. He had to stand down as manager for health reasons last season. James has stepped up from assistant manager. And it's a tough one, Cheshunt. Only 1 former City players there, Vasilio, never say his name correctly anyway. It's a game we mentioned earlier. You should be going there for a club that is looking for aspirations of the playoffs to win it. You both confident?
I think Raul de Silva might still be there, the former Saint.
Is he? He hasn't played.
I think he might still be in the squad. I just have bad memories of going to Cheshunt last year. Was it a draw in the end?
Bad memories of going everywhere last year.
Well, was it a draw or a defeat? I think it was a draw, but it was a real slog of an evening, wasn't it? Down there, as it felt like a lot of the second half of last campaign was. And it just, Bank Holiday Monday away at Cheshunt just doesn't give me the most positive of vibes. I do worry. I think they'll be up for it. I think it'll be a bit of a scrap of a game. But I would take a draw, so I'm going to say 1-1.
Oh, there go our 9 points. Lee?
Yeah, I'm going to mirror your train of thought a little, Dave, if I may. Based on what I've seen over the last 2 games, I don't think we've got the stomach. I don't think we've got the balls to match a gritty side who really want to get back into the into the swing of things. I reckon we lose maybe by the odd goal, maybe 2-1.
2-1. Okay. Well, Saturday was our 77th 4-0 defeat. I don't think we're going to have our 78th on Bank Holiday Monday.
Oh.
It's difficult to see us winning there. It really is. Not that there are any great shakes, just that we aren't either. I don't know. Let's go for... You pinched my 2-1, so I'll go for a 1-1. Oh, no, can't. Jake said that. No. 2-2. Yeah, 2-all then. Go for that.
So positive, Dave.
Absolutely. Right.
Well, yeah, we should be going for wins. I've got one other thing. Mark on Saturday, one of the supporters I was standing with, for some reason, I think it's something to do with the game we were watching. He was ravishing on about our 1970 Amateur Cup run when we got to the semi-final. And he was on in particular about the quarter-final tie at Wycombe Wanderers at Lokes Park, that game there. And on their sloping pitch. Honestly, how can a sloping pitch for a ground, as the old Lokes Park was? And that crowd mark was 10,200. As you said, John Oxley got a goal and John Butler got the other in a 2-0 win. There were two semi-final gates against Dagenham. First one at Millwall, 6,048. And then the second leg at Luton, which we lost 1-0, 7,259. I think we might be a little bit short of hitting those gates this season, but that is in one cup. What about the FA Cup?
Oh.
We've drawn hashtag
What?
United.
Hashtag
United at home.
Been working on that all day. Goodness.
They had a little win on Saturday in the preliminary round. Was it 10-1 against the other Enfield club? They were going down last season. In the end, they wanted to take voluntary relegation. They didn't bother in the end. They just failed to stay out with a lack of points. 3 league games, 3 wins, not conceded a goal, 3-0 wins, in fact. Followed it with that big win in the Cup. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's down the park, so City will win, obviously.
It's not a tie that particularly inspires at all, does it? I mean, I think when those Saints fans saw hashtag United again, I think we've all thought we were getting a season off.
The language was choice on our chat.
At least it's at home, and I think it's our first home draw in quite some time, isn't it? 9 attempts, is it? So, yeah, we'll obviously preview that next week, but it's the glamour of entering in the first qualifying round, isn't it? Hashtag at home. But when you're in the Isthmian Premier, that's life. You've got to deal with it.
That's the hand, mate. That's the hand we've been dealt.
That is the hand, yeah. And I think, Dave, we'll discuss this next week, but I believe they get supporters to vote for who they should bring on as a substitute, which I'm sure that is something you will be absolutely delighted to hear about.
Imagine if we had a little buzzer, how many changes we made about 3:20 on Saturday.
Yeah, but it was down to you. You'd have like a taser and just go right, get off, mate. Just herd them around like a cat.
I'm just reading other people's comments, Lee.
I mean, and they do not share your own, obviously. No.
No.
Good.
Dave, anything else?
Any birthdays?
No, don't start.
I didn't do it. I thought we'd do the Wickham Amateur Cup tie instead.
There is a birthday of one of the podcast hosts coming up on Monday, but not that I'm one to mention those. So,
what do you want, cash?
I would, Dave. If I ever saw cash from you, I would be so shocked.
It might be pesetas or drachma or something that's no longer in legal circulation. But
how many is that, Jake?
Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to think 27. About it. 27, okay. I wish. Well, have you got nothing else, Lee? Anything else?
Just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's emailed and come up and spoke to. We got a really nice email. Can I read this out?
Yeah.
Do you remember, Jacob? Yeah, on the train on Saturday. Dave, you'll absolutely love this, mate. It's beautiful stuff. It's from James. And he says, "Hi guys. Just want to say how much I love the podcast. I look forward to it every week. I've been a Saints season ticket holder for maybe 4 years now, and it's just really interesting to hear your opinions every week, and it's really enjoyable." Great stuff. You inspired me to make a St Albans fan account on Instagram. So anyway, thank you so much for all your hard work, and come on, you Saints. James, that is probably, I don't know whether it's a setup or whether it's a genuine email, but thank you so much. We do actually get quite a few like those. We are the world, mate. We are inspiring people. We're influencers, Jacob. Look at us. But thank you, honestly, thank you everyone who comes up to us and says hello, stops us in the street. Mrs. Wood loves that. She finds it very, very, very bizarre. Emails in. If you want to do so, Jacob's going to give you all the information you need right now.
Yes. Email in the description below. Twitter is at Podful of Saints /X. Dave, I feel like you have something to add before I sign us off.
Emails. You received a really good one the other week, Lee, from that former Enfield director.
I did.
What he said was really kind, and comments like that are appreciated.
Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, go on then. Here you go. How he goes lead boosting after the weekend.
Hi, Dave, Lee and Jake. Just a quick note to say, as a former Enfield Town director and active supporter of the two Enfield teams since 1964, I'm regularly left feeling refreshed by the Saints podcast in terms of your even-handed, unbiased comments and calling it as it is approach. This approach seems to be beyond many non-league clubs' social media coverage. Keep up the good work. all the best. Ken Brazier from Enfield. So thank you very much, Ken. That was lovely.
It was really good. Thank you.
Oh, look at this positivity.
Positivity. I'll get the hat back on. Hat's gone back on.
9 points this weekend, and the promotion push is back on.
9 points this weekend? That's generous.
Oh, wow. Yeah, sorry.
Well, the league are getting good to us.
He meant 9 long throws, Dave.
Yeah, I've already started celebrating. Podful of Saints said everywhere on social media, email, get in contact. Thank you all for your lovely comments like those and the many others we received. We really appreciate it. And also, if you disagree with something we've said, let us know. We want to hear from you. Absolutely. Dave especially, look at him chuckling away. So thank you all very much for watching and listening. And we will speak to you all again next week. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye.